the Thursday, April 14th meeting of Blanc Township. And we'll start with a pledge to flag. And Mr. Kent, would you lead us?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'd like to take a moment for meditation. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I don't see anybody here from the Historical Commission, but I will give you a little...
Can we go back to the agenda, Madam Chair, and see if we're going to...
Yeah, oh yeah. Mhm.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as printed. Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda is approved. Do we have any presentations tonight? Thank you. As far as the historical district, we've spent a weekend trying to get things set for the finishing off the kitchen in time for our open house in May. So,
What, do you know what the date in May?
I don't have it with me now,
All right, I'll find it.
but I will be sending it out by email again. And now we come to public comment. Okay, could I have anybody that wishes to make public comment? Okay, first Mike and Barb, okay?
My name is Mike Yancho Sr. I live at 10640 Halsey Road. And I know you've heard it over and over again, but I want to talk about the condition of some of the roads in the area, specifically Halsey Road, one of the dirt roads. And it's, I know there's not a lot of money to be spent on roads, but I think the grading or maintenance activities on a road are a huge part of how we can maintain our gravel or dirt roads in drivable conditions. So recently, the County Road Commission has taken what I believe to be a very appropriate first step in improving Halsey Road. Over the past few years, the crown of the road has disappeared, and the flow of water from rain events has been prohibited from entering the ditches by a berm or false ditch at the edge of the roadway before the water could get to the ditch. So recently, the County Road Commission did come through and pulled some of those berms back up into the roadway. Unfortunately, all that soil was very wet, and the frost was just leaving the ground, so it created some real nasty conditions. As the soil's drying out, those conditions are improving. And if they can keep up those activities, and that's what I really want our board to focus on, is keeping up those correct maintenance procedures so that they continue to bring that dirt up so that the water can flow to the ditches and also maintain probably a 3 or 4% crown to the road so that the water can flow off the road. I think we'll see a great improvement in our travelability on those roads. If you just want to take a trip down some of our dirt roads, look and see, but wherever the roads are flattest, that's where we see the potholes. Wherever we see crowns and the ability for water to flow downhill into the ditches and get off the roadway so that vehicles don't pound holes into the road, that's where we'll have our best dirt roads. And I know we're not going to pave those roads. We probably don't have any money to put new gravel or limestone on very many of them. So please just stay on that road commission and ask that they use correct maintenance procedures instead of the easy way out.
I'll call Darren tomorrow and tell him that you appreciate what he's done. Keep it up.
Thank you, Mrs. Supervisor.
How did McLean work out?
McQueen is working out great, and so if you compare McQueen visually, it's got the reditched with gravel and a great crown in most places. There are a few exceptions to that, And you'll see, when you travel McQueen, you'll see where those exceptions are. It's where it doesn't have a grade crown. And sometimes there are some topographic considerations, driveways and so on, where they didn't give it a grade crown. And you'll see, it's a great educational opportunity to see the variation in the condition of the road based on the shape or contour of the road. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
One comment in addition to
Yes.
that. Thank you very much. First of all, well, it's not often somebody comes up here to compliment the board on the roads. Thank you very much.
Right.
But if you do call the county,
Yeah.
I echo his concerns. I've driven those roads and they did do a great job.
Oh.
I believe it's Fern. It's a short gravel road. It's probably only got 6,
Yeah.
maybe 10 residential houses on it, Grand Blanc. And if you drive that road, like Mr. Yancho just described, the ditches are literally higher than the road.
Yeah.
You know, that should be the next one on the road commissions, and I agree, they've done a good job.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Next, yes. Oh, I said,
Hi, Susan Hendricks, 10359 Halsey Road as well. I'm going to just elaborate partially on the roads because Halsey Road, if you haven't been on it, is an active road. It's not only an active road because of all the residents. People travel to go from Baldwin all the way down to Thompson and the highway, and we have a huge amount of foot traffic on the land, on the property. A lot of runners are down there, a lot of walkers and stuff. And what's happening with the road being so bad is most of the cars are driving in the middle of the road, and there's a lot of blind curves on that road, at least 2 or 3 by the time you even get to my house. And people are hauling buns in the middle of the road, and runners are strung out around across the road. They shouldn't be, but they are. And because of the severity of it, you almost have to drive in the middle of the road, and yet, like I said, there's school buses, there's all sorts of stuff, and you just simply can't see. You can't see up over the road, some of the hills. And so it is particularly bad this spring, and they were out there, and it pretty much looks like it did before they came out. And like I said, there's been a lot of dangers because as I'm coming around my corners, there are people coming in the middle of the road, you know, all these things. So it is an actual hazard, not just for our cars, but for, you know, the people and the stuff on there. So I'm just throw that out there. The other one thing I wanted to quickly mention, I know you guys know this, but I'm looking at this lovely technology village, and I just want to remind you, this is a rural section. So, and we like to keep it rural. You know, why is it in the technology section? It is, in fact, designated rural, and I think it's actually a jewel for Grand Blanc to have this little section that we maintain. There's historical buildings there. There's a lot of different things going on, and it protects a certain amount of life style that is being lost in a lot of places. So I just want to throw that out. And then again, also with the technology village, I know you know this, but if you look at the Flagstaff ordinances, the dark sky initiatives, as we develop this, let's remember that people in the rural area like to see the sky, and as everything moves in, you can't. And if you look at some of the ordinances from Flagstaff and stuff, they've done huge amounts of keeping their skies protected while still having all the commerce and the development that they want to have. There are ways to do this if you just put them in there. It's called the Dark Sky Initiative. Flagstaff, Arizona has been a proponent. They're almost completely dark, up above their sky, and I think it's something that energy-wise, it saves us money and energy, as well as the fact that we're losing things that we didn't know we were losing, and then they're gone. So just throw that out there, that when you do your development, remember that light pollution is a deal. So, all right, thanks a lot, guys.
okay, Barb.
My name is Barb Green. I live at 2450 Pollock Road. I have went to a few of the Fire Commission meetings. I'm a retired fire lieutenant and a grant writer. I have several concerns about the current submitted assistance to firefighter grant. I brought them up to the Fire Commission, to the supervisor, and to the superintendent. I was told to go to the Fire Commission. I did. The last meeting, there was an issue with the agenda. I'm back to you guys, and we'll be going back to the commission. But I wanted to bring this to additional members that when the fire department submits a grant, it does affect the municipalities in the fact that you guys are, the fire department is obviously funded by you guys, representing you guys, and a grant writer and whoever submits the application is certifying that the information is correct, that it's not false or misleading or any of that stuff. And if that's found to be not the case, that FEMA can investigate the department, can find the department, the municipalities, and prohibit the department from applying for grants in the future. Some of the problems with that grant, there are items that are low priority or no priority at all. There are, for example, there's a requested SCBA compressor which fills the air bottles. In one statement, one part it says it's 14 years old, another spot it says it's 26 years old. There's numerous spelling and grammar errors. There's talk about extrication equipment in the narrative, but in the request details, there's only a chainsaw. I've never used a chainsaw to extricate anybody in 20 years. The training costs that are listed, the way that they are put in, that it's not even a priority item. The financial needs section says that the fire department's budget has been cut by almost $200,000 per year, and this trend is continuing. But in the community section, it says that in 2010, the fire department got a 0.5 millage for 10 years. That's very confusing, not just to a grant writer, but to a citizen. So what is it? And I have been trying to get clarification on that and have not gotten that so far. There's 31 requested items. Of those 31, it says our firemen are trained in 4. How to use a flashlight, how to use a hydrant bag, and how to use a wrench for a fire hydrant. It is impossible for them to only be trained in those 4 things out of the 31 requested items, or they would have never became firemen. You have to know all of those other things. I read in the paper that the department got a firehouse sub-grant, which is wonderful, congratulations. It mentions the dire need for gear. A high priority item for the AFG grant is fire gear. So I question why wasn't gear not applied for, but a mounting bracket was. A mounting bracket has no priority, but fire gear has a high priority. The fire department paid a grant writer that did a huge disservice. And the solution to this, as of right now, is for that application to be withdrawn because there are so many inaccuracies in that grant. And so I'm urging that the board members consult your fire commission members and perhaps urge them to withdraw that application and perhaps even put a hold on all FEMA grants, applying for them or whatever until things get straightened out and reliable, acceptable quality grants with correct information can be submitted on behalf of our community and our department.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? In that case, public comment is closed. Moving on. Okay, moving on with our agenda. I need someone to move for approval of the minutes, either singularly for March 10th, March 22nd, March 22nd executive session, and March 31st. special meeting veterans hearing, either singularly or
I will
altogether.
motion that we approve the minutes of the 4 meetings presented as a whole. And
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The minutes are approved. And now your treasury report, Mr. Kuzak?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. It's my pleasure to present the monthly bills. The general total is $965,003.01. The DPW total is $301,226.62. The solid waste total is $110,525.67. The campus fund is $418,946.39 for a grand total of $1,795,701.69. Move approval as presented, Madam Chair.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much. And now on to new business. Section A, the DPW is requesting the board to approve a resolution which will authorize the township to enter into an agreement with CSX Railroad. The agreement allows Great Lakes Dental Group to connect to sewer facilities which currently exist on CSX property. This agreement will cover the CSX property that Great Lakes Dental will be building the sewer on only. The township must enter into this agreement with CSX rather than Great Lakes Dental because we will be taking ownership of the sewer and maintaining it once it's in service. Any questions?
Madam Chair, we had a quite lengthy discussion on Tuesday night about this topic. I'll make a motion that we enter into that, we pass a resolution to enter into that agreement for that connection. And I'll just make that motion.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question,
Is
Madam
there
Chair.
any discussion? Yes.
On that, can we put do we have to put in the motion that we are actually going to try for that easement at the same time?
No, although we're going to do that.
Right, I know we are.
What we're going to do is, basically the resolution will just adopt the licensing agreement as presented. And we're not going to amend the licensing agreement to add that language, but we'll pursue it.
Okay,
I'll have it in the minutes.
okay, great.
And
Okay.
that's where I was headed, and I decided just to stop it right there.
Okay,
You know,
sure,
so.
So we'll do a roll call, Madam Chair, if you're
Yes?
ready, and we'll start, I guess, with Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman,
Yes,
Mr. Guzak,
Yes,
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Kent.
Yes.
thank you. Resolution is approved. The board shall consider a request from the DPW to have road professional services in conjunction with Potter Consulting to prepare an MDEQ SRF loan project plan and application for amount not to exceed $37,000 and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related contracts and documents.
I'll make the motion, and just for the public's sake, we had lengthy discussion. These are low-interest loans that would save us. For example, I think Mr. Kemp mentioned that an $8 million loan would save us about $200,000 a year if we were able to get this. We have some major sewer projects coming up with Door Highway Extension and a few other projects that have to be done. The loan package that we're putting together here will also work for other types of funding sources besides this low-interest loan.
Tech Village too, yeah.
Right, Tech Village and what have you. So it's something that's necessary, we're going to have to do it, and we might as well save some money. So I'll make that motion.
I'll support that motion, and Madam Chair, with some further discussion that Mr. Bennett's correct. And we also discussed there are options where if we feel we can pay as we go, we don't have to borrow the entire build out money, we can do part, all, but the option is there. And if we were turned down this year, we could reapply for without additional cost for the
Next 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Very good.
I think I've said that right, Mr.
Okay, so we have,
We have a motion and a second.
yeah, and a second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The board will consider a proposal from the DPW to apply for a loan ND2 SRF loan to complete a series of the high-cost sewer projects throughout the township. How is this different?
It's actually, Madam Chair, the last agenda item dealt with Rose Professional Services and
Okay.
engaging them
Okay.
for the work that they have to do. This next one gives the DPW director the go-ahead to move forward. You know, we do have Potter Consulting on a retainer, monthly retainer. It allows him to steer that work towards Potter Consulting to complete the application process. We want to get it in on a July 1 date. We have to have our preliminary one in May, so what we're trying to do is just make sure that Director Sears knows that he has the approval of the board to move forward.
So moved.
Okay.
Support. And thanks for the clarification, and we, there are, as Mr. Lehman just said, there's two pieces to this. One was to grant the proposal
Okay.
to make this, to submit the plan, and that was the first motion. The second, this is really dealing with the loan itself. So,
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. The board will consider a motion to approve the SAFER grant request from the fire department. Mr. Chief Surveyor, did you want to discuss that?
Madam Supervisor and honorable trustees. From what I understand, there are still some questions in regards to the SAFER grant and concerns as well, such as alternative manning of the department and other things as well. I would like to see if I can get a letter so the grant moves forward and it doesn't possibly jeopardize the grant. But if you so decide that you want to wait till the next meeting, I can have a report or some kind of presentation for you in regards to all the questions that you do have.
All right.
I make a motion that we extend it to the last meeting of the month.
Support.
All right.
Steve, any comment? Kind of stick your hand up real quick.
What I would say is that, based on the questions that were brought forth by the board members on Tuesday, as well as follow-up conversations that I had yesterday, I had asked Chief Surveyor to compile an informational report and a written report for the board to consider, because some of the questions came up is that if you're looking at staffing, you're never guaranteed a grant, so what does it look like if you don't get the grant? Is there alternatives that you can do? Is it, rather than the grant, can we change the way we schedule and make use of paid on-call part-time along with the full-time members? And so I think that it would be very prudent and wise for the board to look at that written report so that they can make an informed decision before they move forward with the recommendation from Chief Surveyor on the SAFER grant.
Okay, and we have a motion to...
We already had a motion and a second.
I just had a comment too, Madam Chair. Kind of going along with discussion, we had a conversation with Chief Wiles with regard to road races. And our attorney advised us that if Chief Wiles tells us that we have a dangerous situation, if we go ahead and do something despite being told by our professional this is dangerous, then we're essentially putting ourselves out there. And I guess my only concern is in that application where we're stating that some things are dangerous situations, that I want to be careful how much of that I'm agreeing
Yeah.
to. So
I had the same question.
So that's where some of my question is, in putting ourselves out there
Yeah.
liability-wise, so.
We will be looking forward to it because there were many questions. And I believe they were delivered to you, so I will be looking forward to your answers.
Yes, ma'am.
All those in favor of?
One last, I would concur. The screen, I didn't catch your first name. If we paid for that, we should get our money back.
Is that a different?
Yeah,
we're
that's
talking about
a different
grant?
fee.
No, it's the same grant she's referring to, SAFER grant.
No.
Oh, you're not talking about the SAFER grant?
No, the other was a FEMA grant.
Grant writer wrote both grants, so.
Okay. Because
I was-
I felt the SAFER grant was, there's a stretch in there
Yeah.
on some things, so.
Mhm. Yeah, I think everybody had some questions in regard to that grant, yeah. All right, so, all those in favor of delaying this for until the last meeting in April?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you.
Anyone has opposed?
Mhm. Is there anyone that opposed? Thank you. The board will consider reading of an ordinance to amend the Grand Blanc Charter Township zoning ordinance to change standards for the planned unit development as outlined in section 3:119.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. All in favor?
Well, Madam Chair, can we roll call this? It's an amendment to the
Oh,
zoning
that's
ordinance.
right, okay.
Starting at the other end, I guess, Mr. Kent,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Guzak,
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
Thank you. The board will consider a recommendation from the superintendent to contract with Enterprise Fleet Management to lease several vehicles for the township. Is it, okay, I have a question. Several is a little vague. What do we?
Yeah.
So the information that was presented to the board, and I'm sorry, I realize that you weren't in attendance on Tuesday, but it's specifically 3 vehicles just for the Detective Bureau. And if you recall, we considered Enterprise Fleet Management for the overall township's fleet last fall. It was determined at that time that it didn't feel right to include DPW, the DB vehicles, as well as general administrative vehicles. We've continued that conversation, and Chief Wiles was prepared to bring forth to the board a request to purchase 4 vehicles for this year. That included $38,000 for a cruiser, which we can't lease, and then 3 Detective Bureau cars, 2 2007s and a 2003, that were slated for replacement, for a total price of $122,000. Chief Wiles and I have continued to have conversations with Jason Weiss, who was here Tuesday to answer questions from the board as well, in regards to what it would look like on a pilot project with these 3 vehicles. The immediate change for us is that by the board giving us approval to move forward with these 3 vehicles, we have the opportunity to free up some cash flow for this year. That lease, we're still waiting on General Motors pricing, but what we would ask is that the board approve us to move forward based upon comparable pricing that we saw from the other manufacturers. We will have to wait for probably June or July before we can move it forward, and we could bring it back to you at that time. But we'd like to be able to at least execute the agreement and move that forward with Enterprise. We don't have 2017 pricing from General Motors, and I know that Chief Wiles would like to see that General Motors pricing before we move forward. We may start with one of the cars with another manufacturer in the meantime if we feel like it needs to be replaced sooner. But it does look like it would free up approximately if we still have to buy the cruiser anyway, we free up $84,000 for this year. If you take out the lease payments, that's still going to give us about $72,000 this year that we would not have to spend. And if you take a look over a 5-year lease, although we can get out of it at any time, that actually is less money over the 5 years than we will spend on purchasing those vehicles outright this year. So it is a test pilot project just for 3 Detective Bureau vehicles at this time.
Well, that was my only question.
That's right, but you are going to come back with the dollar amounts and the type of cars later, or not?
I mean, Chief Wiles can speak to this, but we were looking at Malibu and Chevy Equinox. And unfortunately, we won't get that pricing probably until June or July. Now, if they needed the vehicle sooner, we do have pricing on both Chrysler and Ford vehicles. But as you know, we have been a General Motors town. We tend to support General Motors vehicles. If it became critical that we needed to order those vehicles sooner, I believe that we could pull that trigger and move forward. We do have the pricing in the packet with
My
those.
only objection was to the word several. I wanted
Right.
to just say
Yeah.
3.
Sure.
but, you know.
And of course, I'd like to see the actual type of car, I'd like to see the dollar amount and everything in there, because this is what we use to disperse the funds, as you know. So are you coming, this is just to go forward with it, but you will be coming back with the which cars, and then we still have approval at that point to say yes or no on the cars, right?
Yeah, we have the exact, if we
With all the
wait,
details and everything else.
all this allows us to do is to let Enterprise know that we're moving forward and that we're waiting on the pricing for the General Motors vehicles so that we can start the order process. Like I said, if we felt like we had to order something sooner,
Right.
that information will come before the board to let you know that we want to move forward with a Ford or a Chrysler
Right.
product.
And just for the
So you
public-
will, but you will come back and say, okay, we're gonna buy a Equinox for this amount of money, we're gonna buy a Malibu for this amount of money, and so we'll have dollar amounts and the vendors.
We're not buying, we're leasing.
Well,
We're
leasing.
Come back to terms of lease,
I'm
yes.
sorry, we'll be leasing from the
Two
vendor
different
as
words.
well as the dollar amounts with the payments, because right now we had multiple payments in there from 3 or 4 different vehicles, and I know it was just for us to realize what we had, but as long as you're coming back with those specifics, because that's what we need.
And I think we'd be happy to do that
Right.
at this point, to
Once you
bring
figure
back
it all
whenever
out,
you,
that's-
if
that's-
the board would like to see what exact vehicles are going
Right.
to the lease, that's not an issue.
I'll make a motion that we allow the superintendent to enter into contract negotiations with Enterprise Fleet Management to lease 3 vehicles for the Township Police Detective Bureau.
I'll support it, but I've got a couple of comments.
Yeah, all right.
One is for the public's knowledge, the lease that, pricing that we get for leases is government pricing. It isn't the same type of
It's
leasing
not
price
retail
that you get.
pricing, no.
Government bid pricing.
And then also, one of the reasons why it's difficult to get the pricing from GM, I believe, and it may be a while, is they're actually cutting back on the number of fleet sales that they're doing to rental companies and other entities. So that might
Right.
also
Affect it.
affect our choice of vehicles.
Right? Now, you're going to ask for the motion? I'm sorry, all, for the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Going on, I missed 2 things, okay, because I was in Lansing Tuesday and Wednesday working on several legislative problems that we have had and with the legislature, and it was the best legislative session that I've been to in many, many years. Which means over 20 years I've been going to these things, and the things that were brought out and the answers that we received were very important, and I will be distributing them to on the factors that the ones that we talked about were specifically, well, of course, shared revenue, state shared revenue. Another problem was what we call the gag rule, the 269, with the 60 days before you could talk and so forth. We went over that quite definitely. Another one was the dark store problem, and so those were in broadband, extending broadband, because there's still many places in Michigan in rural areas where there is not broadband, which affects particularly the kids, okay, because they're supposed to do homework on computers and there's no way to get the computers done. The only way they can do it, because in some places, is because the school district has set up the computers. So that was also a big question that we discussed, or was under discussion. I'll be going, as I said during the previous meeting, I'm going tomorrow, quarterly, the top biggest townships in Michigan meet quarterly, and I will be going there to, because we have the same kind of problems, other than when you go to a whole statewide township business, because out of over 1,000 townships, many are much smaller and do not have the same kind of problems we do. So it's a very effective deal, and we get good ideas from each other. So I will be going there. So I will be missing. And unfortunately, I missed I-69. I missed 9/11 because I was out of town. But I'll be getting the reports on that to give to you. So now, Larry?
For my fire commission report, I'm going to defer to Chief Surveyor. Let's give it to the board to
Mhm.
give a little presentation on the fire commission. Thank you.
I just wanted to address the board in regards to it. We recently had a fire over on Schramm. At the time, we had 4 firefighters at the station, and there was an off-duty firefighter who did go on board with the responding fire truck. By the time the crew arrived, the house was fully involved at that point in time. It was an attached garage, and also started catching the next-door neighbor's house on fire as well. They were running out of water, and they were waiting for the next arriving truck to arrive. You could hear the battalion chief pretty much screaming for the crew to get here as soon as possible. They did an outstanding job. They should be commended, and the firefighter who jumped on the truck as well should be commended as well. The other thing I wanted to let you know is since the beginning of the year, we've had 2 grants that we have been given notice that we have been given. One was for a Sparky outfit from Walmart, and that was $2,500, and that since has been purchased and already used. And then also the recent one, which is the firehouse subs grant for 8 sets of turnout gear for $19,200. I just have to say that working with the community and the businesses, it's an honor to do that as well. And then hopefully in the future, the fire department, and including myself, we can become more active in the community and give back as well.
Thank you very much. We also, I did want to say that we had commendations from the people from the fire that we did put on our website, because they were very, very pleased with the actions of the
There was also a very nice article in today's Grand Blanc View.
Yeah.
Given
Right.
accolades from the resident
So,
on that fire as well.
congratulations.
Thank you. And also I wanted to let you know, if you don't already, I did announce that the Grand Lake Firefighter of the Year is Chris Keller, who's our fire inspector. And he did a great job last year. So that'll be coming in the future for an award ceremony as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Scott?
Yes, the Planning Commission's been very active, and we've been getting lots of public input and participation. I think it might have to do with topics, but our gas station on Hill in Genesee, probably read the paper where that was approved by our board, or by our Planning Commission. We have several other very good things happening. One of them is that McLaren Hospital Group, not sure of their legal entity name, but anyways, it's McLaren, is proposing to build an office building, actually
There's headquarters,
2 buildings
yeah.
probably, in 2 different phases, located behind the Holiday Inn Express on Regency Parkway. And they're taking great pains to make sure that the environmental area there is protected. They are one of the, we talked at our meeting before this about, possibility of going up instead of spreading out development. That's what they're looking at, is, being able to go 2 stories so that they can preserve as much land. And actually, they're putting a nice buffer around, voluntarily all around their property.
Right.
Leaving a lot of the trees. In fact, there's Meltrica Drive, which comes off of Cook Road and leads back there, is shielded quite by a really heavy grove of trees that are going to remain there. They're bringing in an architect that's known for using renewable resources and working with the environment. So that should be a very nice development there. I stopped at the Culvers yesterday, and they were very pleased that was going up behind them, which that's one of our new developments in the last year. There is a proposal to demolish and rebuild the Speedway gas station at Hill and Ollie Drive, which is near 475 and Hill Road. And They would like to purchase the vacant lot that is directly behind the Speedway currently, so that when they rebuild, they would like to move the store back a little bit and give more frontage or more space between the pumps and the road, right?
So they are going to demolish.
Well, they would like to, there is some rezoning issue there that will have to take place to be able to move them back. Also, they're proposing the building of a Speedway gas station in the corner of Perry and Belsey Road. And
Very good.
I think that's about it for right now as far as on the planning commission. So that's all I have.
Okay, very good, thank you. Clark?
I have no report from Board of Zoning Appeals or Police Commission, but through you, Madam Chair, to Scott, is the McLaren building medical or just office?
Yeah, I should have clarified, there is no medical procedures that will be happen there. It's all office space. It'll probably be, I think, approximately 200 offices, I think, first phase, and then the second, if things go well and they utilize that space, they have in their proposal a second building to be of some similar size.
Will it be physicians' offices or just
No,
clerical
just,
offices?
it'll just be administration.
Administration,
offices,
okay.
But no medical procedures or
medical.
anything. But I think what's great is,
Oh, yeah.
you know, our community wants a variety of restaurants and what have you. Well, the more of these type of offices we get, the more options I think we have as
More
far as.
customers we have for
Yeah,
the
for
restaurants.
potential
Yeah.
restaurants.
To attract that kind of business.
Yeah.
Very good. But Larry, Parks and Rec?
Weather's getting nicer, people are coming out to use the parks, we're seeing a lot of activity out there. Parks and Recs, right now is kind of continuing to, with our discussion of the aging infrastructure, especially at Bicentennial Park, as we talked about, and how to fund some updating and so forth of that. For example, softball fields, some of the fencing and stuff needs to be replaced and so forth, so still pursuing that. Looking into a better plan, if you will, to accommodate that. As you know, most of that infrastructure was paid for to be built with grants, but grants pay for new construction only, they don't pay for
Yeah.
maintenance and repairs. So with the good comes the, okay, now we've got to maintain this, so work on that one.
Okay, very good. Dennis?
So a couple things going on that the board may be interested in. We have finished at least the fieldwork portion of the annual audit. The auditors were here and camped out in the back in the finance department for a few weeks. They have compiled the information that they needed here. We've got finance working on that for another couple of weeks yet before we're through that process. I'm still gathering some additional information. In fact, we talked about the tech village earlier, and that's going to be moving forward, but some of that market study will actually kind of work not only in our master plan, but it helps us when we start talking about things like putting our CAFR together so that we can talk about what's going on in the community. So we're excited to see that. The other thing is we did move forward with the DPW crew leader's position. Mike Uresco, congratulations to him. It was great that 7 out of the 9 folks that were available for that position actually applied for it and were interviewed. It was an interview panel consisting of Supervisor Hoffman, myself, and Director Sears. They had a list of 5 questions that they went through. In addition to, we already knew their work histories, of course, but we're excited to see that move. It's all part of that DPW reorganization that's kicked off last October with the start of their strategic agenda, strategic planning sessions, and it's in response to Director Sears trying to find more effective and efficient ways to deliver services to residents. One of those things means that the assistant DPW director, rather than day-to-day supervision, is going to be more project-oriented, which helps us tremendously. And the crew leader is actually a working crew leader who's out in the field every day, but he is more in touch with the day-to-day activities, obviously. So we're excited and happy that Mike applied, and we're excited for the opportunity to see him succeed moving forward. And lastly, hats off to the Grand Blanc Township Police Department, specifically Chief Wiles, as well as Officers Schwartz and Wolschlager, We held the ALICE training, which is really an active shooter training here in the township on Tuesday. We did it in 2 sessions. We ran through all employees. We did the morning session for half, and then the other half came in the afternoon session. They were able to actually go through, it's about an 8-hour training normally. They were able to condense it down to approximately about 3.5 hours. And then they actually spent time in each person that required it or requested it, a workstation to kind of give them some ideas. But it was great in the fact that it teaches you what to do if we, in the unlikely event, but we are a government office, so you never know, how do we respond. That also includes an overall look at, where our security cameras placed. Do we keep our doors locked? Should we have other, maybe it's key card slides or combination locks to control access to more parts of the building? Right from the first greeting when they come through the door to how we move people through. It's great to be a building of the people and have unfettered access, but you also in today's day and age have to take security precautions to protect your people. This is a program that they've done successfully at the schools, and now they've modified it to do offices. They are going to branch out. I think Holy Family on the 28th is the next one, but these guys did a fantastic job. We got great feedback from all the employees. It's more about how to keep you safe and keep you alive, how to delay things until the police arrive. It made us do a complete security review. How do we use our phones for a paging system to alert them? And then there was a little bit of fun, but a lot of seriousness about how you respond in those situations. And they were put through several scenarios. I'm happy to report that if there is an active shooter, if you're near Treasurer Guzak, you're probably okay because he took down an unexpected shooter in the middle of a situation and saved the rest of us. And I would say hats off to Earl because he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, see,
I had help with the deputy. She was actually wrestling him first, and then, because I didn't realize it was happening. She saw the gun, and I didn't see it, so then I just helped her. So it was a combination of both of us.
It was amazing because I was standing right next to them, and when the surprise shooter jumped up and pulled out a firearm, I saw Treasurer Guzak, had her by the legs. Nancy Stilson, the deputy treasurer, came over Earl's back. They took her down in a matter of seconds, disarmed her, and nobody was injured.
and the other people did what they were supposed to do, they ran out, right?
Yeah.
But hats off to Grand Blanc Township Police, and especially these 2 officers and Chief Wiles, because it was the feedback, and I don't know if you saw it, Chief, but I had Megan send over the feedback that we'd received to date, and I'm very happy with the training, and we were requested by employees to provide more additional, and not just this type of training, but those types of training, any kind of training like that in the future, and it was very well received, and you just never know when it may save a life, so thank you for providing that for us. That's it.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
yes.
can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I think we do need to take a look at the security of this building. I think it is very open and to a fault, and I think we need to look at, and I'm sure our manager can make some recommendations, but I think some things like, security card, whatever, to get the doors to unlock, to know who's in here, what have you. If there were a problem and everybody exits the building, how do we know who's still in here or who left early or what have you? But I think our access is way too open right now.
We even had one crawl up through the ceiling tile. Get out of the way.
That's part of the
They taught him ways to use objects that are around you to secure doors. It might be the belt off your pants.
Yeah.
Sorry to Robbie Beller, who's lost his buckle. But it's about wrapping it around doorknobs, using wire ties, stacking furniture, any kind of ways. And Supervisor Hoffman is correct. We did have an employee who had barricaded himself in my office and went up to the ceiling tiles to hide inside the ceiling during the drill. Also, thank you to Grand Blanc City for loaning us, I don't know his name, Chief, so I'm sorry.
Detective Geiger.
Detective Geiger, so he was a huge help in all of this.
So, now we're down to you.
I don't have anything to add, except I'd like to ask if you would go into a closed session to discuss attorney-client correspondence.
All
I
right.
will make the motion to enter into a closed session after a 5-minute recess with the board.
Support.
All those in favor?
We got to go roll call. Well, let's mix it up. Mr. Guzak.
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
Mr. Kent.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
5 minutes.
Support?
Okay, Scott.
Do we have,
So
I
motion,
make a motion?
second. There was motion
Okay.
and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I would, Madam Chair, I will make a motion to instruct Superintendent Dennis Leamanton to continue the contract negotiation with direction as set by the board tonight, or should I just leave that? Is that
Board
good enough?
consensus, yeah.
no, that's fine.
Consensus of board? Okay.
Support?
Is it, okay, is it individual?
No, it's just regular.
Okay.
Group voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And Dr. Reardon's not here, so someone's got to make the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. All those in favor?
That's a staple, isn't it?
Motion
Stuck here
passed.
all night, huh?
All right, and what are we gonna do?